All right, welcome to week 4 of the legislative session. I'm Todd O'Hair, President and CEO of the Montana Chamber of Commerce, and this is Bridger Mahlum. Bridger is our Director of Government Affairs and leads all of our legislative and lobbying sort of efforts here with the Montana Chamber. So we're going to try to keep this, again, around 10 minutes or less, capturing just the high points from last week or from this current week, and then what we're going to be looking at into next week. We record this, and then as soon as Bridger and I finish our dialogue, we open it up to questions that folks may have about issues that are important to them. And we don't record that session, so there'll be a little pause at the end of the video here. So feel free to ask questions when we get finished here. So with that, Bridger, tell us a little bit about this week. Friday, we're wrapping her up.
Yeah, week 4 is wrapping up. A lot of interesting things happening, of course. As many of you may have had tuned in last night, Governor Gianforte gave his first State of the State address as governor, and we heard a lot of intriguing priorities come from him that many have been previewed to us over the course of leading up to this legislative session. But yeah, this week was busy for the Montana Chamber, and that's starting to happen now. We're getting a lot more bills in the pipeline, and things that are going to matter to business are percolating at a way faster rate than they had been in the weeks leading up. So just a few off the top things we supported this week. We were involved in a piece of legislation that would incentivize career and technical education, the community college funding formula. We supported a bill that would bring more work comp premium predictability for employers. And another bill where we advocated for tax-free employer contributions to employees to help them pay down their student debt, as well as supporting a user fee on electric vehicles to support our roads. And that infrastructure investment, of course, is always important to us, so we were happy to be a part of that. A few highlights on things we opposed over the course of this week that we thought would be increases to the cost of doing business for our Montana businesses. Was one, an increase on registration fees of all vehicles. That was going to have a disproportionate impact on businesses that rely on high volume of vehicles as far as their business model is concerned. And that bill has been tabled in committee, so we were successful in that effort, as well as another bill that could have impacted your ability to claim capital gains tax credit on the entire gain, which, again, that capital gains tax credit is important for a lot of business owners, especially when they are transitioning out of their business and are looking to set up possibly for retirement when they sell that asset, hopefully at a higher rate than what they bought it for. So those were some big things this week, Todd.
So let's pick one of those out of there, Bridger. Let's talk about the work comp one that you said brought a little more predictability. Can you explain what that bill kind of did and why we supported that?
Yeah, Senate Bill 118, sponsored by Senator Terry Gothier out of the Helena area, is legislation that it was similar to something we had supported in 2017 that was ultimately vetoed by then Governor Bullock. And what this bill does is it sets forth the expectation in clear statute of the employee when they are looking to apply for a position that once an offer has been, a conditional offer of employment has been made to that individual, that oftentimes, depending on what the occupation is, the employer is going to need to know about the physical limitations of that applicant for the job. And again, they've already been offered the job, but need to know some of these essential medical components and potential limitations so that we can continue to promote a safe workplace and adjust their position as needed based on those limitations. And what the bill does is says, if the employee makes a false statement or misrepresentation about any medical limitations that are directly related to the job, that they would not be then eligible for the work comp benefits as a result. And so this is just, we consider this a workplace safety bill that's been needed for quite some time.
Great news. Looking ahead to this coming week, we see that the governor is starting to unveil some tax proposals. He addressed some of those in his State of the State last night, and we're starting to field some calls from the governor's office here over the course of the last month about those tax proposals. let's just hit on two of them because he's got a package of what, 6? Is that
Yeah,
right?
even more than that. It's somewhere in the 8 range, but ambitious stuff, but a lot of intriguing ideas that I think we can get behind several of.
So let's just focus on 2 of them, Bridger, and kind of
Sure.
talk about a couple of them that you see might be, have bill numbers or something that folks can look at.
Yeah, so I'll start with a couple that have already been assigned a bill number. So they're further along in the process of getting a hearing than some of the others that are still fine tuning the language. And so with that, Senate Bill 159, Senator Greg Hertz is carrying a bill that, if you're paying attention to what the governor's office has been talking about with these priorities, this is one that comes up quite frequently, is reducing the top marginal income tax rate from 6.9% to 6.75%. So currently, for every dollar that you make as an individual in Montana over $17,400, you're paying 6.9% on that rate. And what the governor's office is looking to do with this is reduce it by that 0.15%. With what we see as a very compelling argument when it comes to having a competitive top marginal rate relative to other states, and even more importantly, relative to neighboring states, where many facets of economies and natural resources and other factors in those states are very similar to ours. And so when businesses and individuals that are in a position to create jobs can move their capital as easily as they can in this day and age, we have to be competitive, and looking at the personal income structure is one of those ways to do that. So Senate Bill 159 doesn't have a hearing scheduled quite yet as far as what I looked at today, but that's coming up. So the second one is House Bill 252. Representative Lou Jones of Conrad is carrying that bill, also not yet scheduled for hearing, but we can anticipate that very soon. And what this bill does is it's a tax credit for trades, education, and training. And it does directly impact the employers, because it's the employers who get a tax credit for expenses that they think are necessary for one of their employees to bone up on some additional trades education or whatever else that ambitious employee is looking to do to make themselves the best employee possible for that employer. And so what it does is it creates a tax credit equal to 50% of the qualified education and training expenses incurred by an employer for the benefit of the employee, not to exceed $2,000 per employee annually. And any employer can claim a credit, a total credit of up to $25,000. So you can do this with more than one employee. So again, really thinking creatively, the governor's office is about how do you engage the business community more in getting your employees most up-to-date education so that they can bring the best skills they can to work.
Help compensate for costs sending them to a class at a community college or a
100%.
Trade school, something like that, right? So it's an effort to try to increase the skills with workers without having to lose them for additional education. So, great.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you have on the top of your mind here, Bridger, as we look ahead for the next week? We'll look at some of these other bills that the governor's office is going to be unveiling here with specifics around income tax or not income tax, but tax packages in general. Is there anything else that you can see on the near-term horizon that we need to be aware of, or we covered?
I think for the most part, we've covered it. One thing we're going to need to watch out for is legislation that deals with paid family and medical leave. I think nine states, especially in recent years, have passed mandatory paid family leave insurance plans that are set up by the state of Montana to cover, or any state that's covered it so far, Montana being one that's proposed to be, I believe, the 10th state to do that. So I'm in dialogue with the bill sponsor about that to share the concerns that we have about that bill, but we will see if it gets a hearing this coming week. But House Bill 228 could be coming up pretty soon.
COVID liability, that was mentioned. It was great for us to hear last night. Governor Gianforte called this bill out specifically, right? And this has been a chamber-led effort here for several months. And so he's identified this bill specifically as a priority. Where's it at in the process?
Yeah, Senate Bill 65 continues to move along and really what is excellent news for Montana businesses when it comes to legal environment predictability going forward, especially. Senate Bill 65 passed out of House Business and Labor Committee earlier this week on a 12-8 vote. And we are working with legislative leadership now to learn exactly when it will go on to second reading and third reading in the Montana House of Representatives. There were some amendments, some technical amendments introduced by the sponsor in the House committee that were added to the bill. So when it comes to procedural matter, the bill is going to have to come back to the Senate to concur with those amendments that were added in the House before it gets to the governor's desk. But we feel very strongly that this is going to move forward and be a very big early win for businesses in this session.
Great. Thanks, Bridger. So as you can see, tempo is starting to pick up on legislative matters and priorities that are important to the business community. The Montana Chamber continuing to bubble to the top. So with that, we'll now turn to question and answers. If anyone has any questions, we'll stop the recording now. So if anybody has a question, feel free to jump in, and you can be assured that this is not going to be recorded. So you can speak freely and ask questions freely as you'd like. So we'll open this up now.